Hi there, Hunter. So
Hi.
glad you're with me. And I'm really excited to hear about your situation and see if I can offer a little bit of help.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, what's going on with me is my partner and I have an 11-month-old baby, and our relationship before the baby came was very smooth and equal and a really fun time. And so, I think we naively believed that that would just continue once the baby came and we wouldn't face the challenges that we hear about from other parents. And in reality, what's happened is the unequal balance of tasks and responsibilities related to the baby uh, is quite difficult and creating some feelings of resentment in me and I think confusion too because I we've never had anything like this create this kind of challenge in our relationship before. And I thought I guess we thought we had like planned for it or had the right conversations or done
Mm.
what we could, and still it just feels uneven, and I don't really know how to hold that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's working, like, is there a designated primary caregiver for the baby as opposed to person earning?
Yeah, so I'm the primary caregiver and my partner is the earner. I work a little bit, but it's very minimal.
Okay. And was there a discussion about the distribution of tasks? Not that you could have known, you could say, well, who's going to change the baby, feed the baby, shop for the baby? And those are just like the big, ticket items, but then there's thousands of smaller ones. So what kind of conversation did you have knowing in advance you couldn't have known about the gazillion small little microscopic but meaningful tasks associated? But what did you come to some discussion or agreement ahead of time, or did you just figure it would work out and you'd talk about things as they unfolded?
Yeah, I think there was a very general conversation that, since I was winding down my money earning work, that my full focus would be on the baby and then my partner would fill in as needed. I think there was some like sense of trust that we'll figure it out, we've got it, we'll
Yeah.
address things as they come up.
Okay.
But we didn't really drill down to the details, to like pre-negotiating the details.
No, and nor could you really. I mean,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
And is this a biological baby? Did one of you carry the baby?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look underneath sort of the manifestation of this that's causing the resentment, I'm guessing it has to do with who's waking up with the baby, who's sort of dragging themselves out of bed if the baby wakes up, or if the baby just needs care and attention and you're depleted. Um, did what is the need under it? Is it a need to feel that you have sort of an equally invested partner? Is it a need for sleep? Is it a need for appreciation? Is it a need, if you could get
Mhm.
into the weeds a little bit, and what is the need that is not being met right now by your partner?
Mm. Um, well, I think I'd say the need is something about my freedom and autonomy.
Okay.
Um, and that's not something that I think my partner can necessarily give me. They can support me in seeking it, but I'm also breastfeeding and bed sharing with the baby. So I'm not getting a lot. I don't have a lot of physical. I'm kind of tethered to the baby physically, right? Like every few hours I need to be back. And so that setup that we've agreed upon and I consent to just it keeps me so close, and there's a trapped feeling that comes out of
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the underlying need for me is freedom and autonomy. Like I had a mild medical issue and I needed to go to the emergency room for 8 hours. And that was just terrifying, mostly knowing that like what are they going to do without me? And so the lasting impact of that has been, like this resentment, like, God, I can't even go to the emergency room, and none of that is my partner's fault or anything like that, but I think that, yeah, the setup is just one that leaves me feeling not free,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm listening to you and my heart is just soft. And I'm not only hearing you talk about this feeling of kind of feeling trapped and not, I don't hear anything negative. Clearly you're a caring parent, but that feeling of, being tethered to the baby and not having that kind of freedom and autonomy and the ability to even go away for 8 hours for medical issues
Mhm.
and not be, feeling this elastic pull or this fear or worry. And as I listen, I'm imagining the thousands of parents hearing this who have a new or newish baby, identifying with what you're saying.
Mhm.
And I think it's one of the things that we don't understand ahead of time about what raising a child is about. And I don't want to freak you out or anything.
Mhm.
And this will change. It will
Mhm.
change in the reasonably near future for you in terms of some of it,
Mhm.
where you'll be able to have longer stretches of time once you're not nursing and you can hire a sitter,
Mhm.
if your
Mhm.
partner can't spell you and give you that time. But it is true that nobody really understands the depth of entwinement and enmeshment, not
Mhm.
in an unhealthy way. I have a child who's 33, and I'm still very aware many days of, how's he doing and how are they,
Mhm.
there's just a way that we are reconstructed. And I don't know if we ever go back to who we were before. I don't think it's possible to go back to who we were with that kind of carefree, unburdened sense that we're moving through the world as a single separate person. Um, does that make sense to you? Sorry.
Yes, absolutely, it does, it does, and I think, it's in the late nights that that realization kinda comes crashing down on me and it can evoke a feeling of panic in some way,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and, and of course, I love my child, and I'm so glad that we made this decision and all that, but there's something that feels inescapable about it, that
yeah, yeah,
creates a lot of, yeah, panic and fear
yeah,
in me.
yeah. And also, there is, postnatal depression, the
Mhm.
adjustment to that is no joke. And I
Mhm.
would hope that if you sort of teeter on the edge of some depressive experiences or are feeling flattened by
Mhm.
the overwhelming demands, that you're getting some support outside
Mhm.
of your partner who
Mhm.
can only go so far with you and who can only offer so much. If
Mhm.
you're depressed, and I won't ask you because this is a public forum, but if you were feeling depressed or feeling, I can't do this, or, having fantasies or images that are worrisome in any way, please, please make sure that you're reaching out. There are so many wonderful networks of support just for postpartum, but also for, therapy and those who specialize, because I'm sorry you're going through this, but I'm really grateful that we're talking about it in this podcast because we don't talk about it a lot.
Mhm.
And I think that the glorification of what it is to become a mother and to raise a child and to be a parent, and
Mhm.
it is, you can't even describe the changes and the beauty and the moments of tenderness and sweetness, but it's also really hard.
Mhm.
And so if you're some of what I think we have to come to, if you're not experiencing real postpartum or depression, is grief for the
Mhm.
life you have lost. There's a grief for what you're watching, almost like watching a ship sail off into the distance
Mhm.
and knowing you're not on it anymore. And you may have friends still. I don't know if you still have friends in your circle who are autonomous and free and doing kind of cool, fun things that you
Mhm.
maybe don't see yourself doing for a while. Is that also part of it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like my whole world changed when I had the baby, but honestly, there's a second life that I have online with social media and everything, and that didn't change really. Like, sure, I'm following a few more parenting, influencers or whatever, but all my friends, like, they're still going to the same parties, they're still vacationing, they're still doing, and so there's been a real dissonance there for me, and it really highlights that feeling of being left out, and
Ah,
like my life has kind of ground to a halt in some
yeah,
ways, and
yeah,
everything else keeps going on. And so, as we bring this up here, I'm thinking it might be worth it to do a more intentional shift there of like what I'm exposing myself to. Like I maybe don't need to see what all the cool parties are that I'm not gonna go to every weekend.
yeah. I'm so touched by how kind of brave you are and how honest you are. A lot of parents are go through something similar, but they're not tuning into it, so it's getting pushed down and repressed. And
Mhm.
then it just shows up in explosive anger or in detaching maybe from the baby or. So what you're doing is really healthy, even though it's so hard, just to be more present and aware. This is what's going on right now, and I'm looking at it. I'm not hiding from it.
Mm.
It might be interesting, and I know these are supposed to just be brief little vignette, and it's always really hard for me to wrap up because I feel like I start to just get going here. And of course, you could be part of our membership, and we do go deeper. But
Mhm.
um, I wonder if it would be helpful for you to do some reflecting after our conversation, if you have a few more minutes. Maybe take some notes or record something free form, like unstructured. Just kind of a brain dump about some of the things that might be getting stirred up around all of this, that you could coalesce into a letter or an expression or something you read to your partner that takes them a little bit out of the position of having to, feeling they're failing you because they're not able to, and they're just not able perhaps
Mhm.
to give you a longer leash, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That puts you guys back on the same side.
Mhm.
that that your partner is there as a support, if nothing else, to witness and comfort you. and
Mhm.
and really the word that comes up for me, and I hope people don't misunderstand that, is grief.
Yeah.
You're describing a grieving process for what you had and don't have right now.
Mm. Absolutely.
And maybe your partner can hold you while you cry about this.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
underneath the resentment and anger and frustration, and this is unfair and it's inequitable. And for sure, you might negotiate. Listen, on Saturdays, I want to sleep in. I want you to take the baby. I will help nurse the baby at 5 a.m. And then I want till noon or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
You may want to have, but I would have that negotiating the practicalities of this after there's a genuine connection where you feel that your partner, that the two of you feel you're on the same side here, and
Mhm.
there's been kind of a vulnerability expressed, and that you offer that to your partner, who might be able to say, listen, I've watched you struggle. I feel I'm doing all I can. Maybe I have a little bit of, I could go a
Mhm.
little further, but this has been hard for me to witness you're the change for you that's been hard to adapt to, and to feel that you're mad at me because I can't make it all go away. So it might be
Mhm.
that a really open and honest conversation,
Mhm.
perhaps facilitated by a therapist, would be helpful as well.
Mhm. That sounds really beautiful. Mm.
Good.
Mm.
Any kind of wrapping up ways you want to kind of, any thoughts as we bring this to a close?
I just wanna appreciate, that we're able to tell the truth here. Yeah, thank you.
That's the whole point. I think parents are exposed to way too much material, podcasts,
Mhm.
Instagram, all of it,
Mhm.
that leave them feeling, what's wrong with me? What am
Mhm.
I doing wrong? And I'm so not into that, because I've done this. I've had people come in my office for over 40 years and close the door and tell the truth about what their struggles are. And Of course, I never ever divulged anybody's private thoughts, but it has accumulated for me to this very powerful understanding that we need to tell the truth because too many people don't know that everybody else is struggling too, almost
Mm.
everybody, even the ones who look are really put together and smiling. And, you know, you hear that, oh, not everything is an Instagram story, but for real, the
Uh-huh.
people who are posing, posting are, maybe shutting off the camera and screaming at their kids or going into the bathroom and crying on the floor. It's hard. It's hard to raise another human being, and nobody tells you, kind of as you're so beautifully describing, how just the shock of, oh, I don't have a life of my own exactly anymore. Still do, and you have to have that. Your baby will benefit from you having some autonomy and freedom and getting nourished from other places besides home and baby partner. But let's start with the truth. So thank you so, so much for doing that.
Thank you.
It's really been a great conversation. All the best to you and to your lovely family.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.